This vignette provides you with a quick overview of the identification spreadsheet. If you are just a user and don't plan on making any changes to the spreadsheet, you may not need to review this video. The spreadsheet itself looks a bit like this. In the top left corner, we have an area where you'll be putting in the strategic objectives and priorities that you completed in the first step. Across the top, you'll be putting in the risk categories that you've created from whichever risk framework you've chosen to use. On the left side, we just have a visual representation of, in this case, a CASO framework, which is what this spreadsheet is based on. And then the definitions from those risk categories are on the left, and down the bottom is where we convert the alpha scores of high, medium, and low from the weighting priorities into a numeric score for use in the spreadsheet. Let's take a look at each section. So the strategic priorities, those are the things that you've created through Module 1 of the Rapid Scorecard, which allows you to capture the strategic objectives and their priorities. You can either copy and paste these in here or enter them in directly. Across the top, we have those risk categories. Let's take a look at those in a little bit more detail. In this case, we're using the CASO framework, which you've seen in the PowerPoint slide deck that preceded this step. Basically, it looks at their 4 categories. In the CASO case, strategic risks, operational risks, and so on. And then within those categories, the specific areas of risk we might want to consider. And all we're going to do is take these and list them across the top. So if you choose to set up a different framework, either changing these names, you can just key them in directly into this cell, in this case G3, or you can hide column sets that you don't want to use, or of course, delete them and start over again. So the net is we just transfer those across the top. In this particular case, I've tried to color code them so that the yellow area from the risks are also in a yellow category on the spreadsheet. That makes it a bit easier for your eye to track what area you're in. We've just pasted in the definitions for each of these risks. Again, those just come from the PowerPoint deck that's provided, and they're on the spreadsheet just for reference purposes to remind you of what each risk category is. And then finally down the bottom, we have this ability to shift these priorities of high, medium, low into numeric score. And so this is just a horizontal lookup formula where we take a look at whatever the score happens to be, in this case a medium. It'll look down here to see what is that score and change the M to a numerical value of 5. Now the trick here is these have to remain in alphabetical order. If you put in a different sequence, it won't work. And then the numbers are just whatever score. So you might want to choose to put a higher weighting on highly prioritized objectives and change this to, say, 15 or 20, or shift a medium down to, a 4 or 3. So this allows you the flexibility of changing that. The way you'll be using this spreadsheet to show how these mathematics work is for each risk area, in this case economic risks, we're going to take a look at what its impact might be on profitable growth and put in a score of 1 to 5, and what its likelihood of occurring is, and again put in a score of 1 to 5. And this is a standard risk sort of approach. The way the mathematics in the spreadsheet work is it takes a look at the medium and grabs that number 5, multiplies that by 3, multiplies that by 4, and then graphically represents what that looks like. So by the time we're done, we can sort of visibly see what these risks might look like by risk area. So that's what the spreadsheet does with those numbers. And we'll be going into more detail on how to use this in the next webinar. Now, what the spreadsheet also does is it adds down that column and creates a Harvey Ball indicator of what the overall risk occurrence likelihood is, and it adds up across all the risks to give you some degree of risk by strategic objective. Now we'll be refining this work over step 3, but for now that's the overall framework. Now in terms of the mathematics, for those who care, if we take a look at how these bar charts are created on this cell here, there's a formula that we use that basically puts in a blank if we're missing any of the data. Otherwise, it creates the mathematical value, and then by using conditional formatting, we create that little bar chart. In terms of the Harvey balls, again, that's a conditional formatting activity. And if we take a look at that, what we've done here is, based on this entire range, any of the values that are within 80% of the highest value get a full Harvey ball. Any that are 60 to 80% get a 3/4 view, and so on. So if you want to change the mix of Harvey balls or how they occur, you can go into the conditional formatting and shift those numbers. So that's enough of an overview of the spreadsheet. It gives you an idea how to use it, and it's just a tool to help highlight where risk might be occurring, and therefore there probably is no need to adjust it. But if you need to, you now understand some of the mechanisms.